everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel Rather Be Reading, and today I'm bringing to you a recent reads video. It has once again been a week since I last checked in for a recent reads video. If you've been watching my couple of my most recent reads videos that I filmed before this for February, then you know that February got off to a really slow start. I read, I think 2 books, was it in the first week? And then 3 books. No, that's not right. It was like 4 and then 3. I had really slow weeks. And I was really hoping to pick things up into this most current week. And things didn't quite go to plan. I would also, we're going to get into that in a minute, I would also just like to give a mini apology. I only ended up posting 1 video last week. I normally post 3 videos a week. And I filmed all my 3 regular videos last weekend like I usually do, but I only ended up posting my recent reads video from last week. And then, to be perfectly honest, I was having a really shit week. And I just couldn't bring myself, I just didn't have the mental energy to expend on editing those videos. One of them as well, I was really unsure about as well. I wasn't sure whether I even wanted to post that video. And so that combined with not having a great week just meant I didn't end up editing either of them. And so I am actually going to use that second video as one of my videos for this coming week. So you will end up seeing that video. It'll just be up a little bit later than planned, which is great because it means I only have to film 2 videos this week instead of 3. So yeah, I was having a really crappy week. We're going to touch on the one book that I finished this week. One book. And then we're going to kind of get into what I'm currently reading and what happened over this past week and why the week was just so crap. Okay, so the book that I completed was The Romeo Catches by Elise Arden. This is the second book in the Casket Girls trilogy. This is a reread. I had previously read the first 2, so I finally read this second one so that I can now continue on and finish the third one. So I enjoyed this. So I previously rated this. So my original ratings for the first 2 were, I gave the first one a 3.5. And I gave this one a 4.25, and I, on reread, raised the rating of the Casket Girls to 3.75, and I'm actually lowering this to just a straight 4-star, so it's still a 4-star, it's still good. I think I was just being a little bit overly generous when I originally rated this. So the trilogy overall, I obviously can't speak to specifics on this book, but the trilogy overall, I feel like I've given this synopsis a million times over this past month or so. It's a YA story set in New Orleans. There's been this huge, the biggest natural disaster the United States has ever seen. It's the biggest hurricane that's ever happened, and Adele, the main character, and her father are returning to New Orleans where they live. They're some of the first people returning, and there's a lot of weird, mysterious things going on in New Orleans at this time. And basically this story involves witches, shapeshifters, vampires, voodoo magic, lots of different things like that. The first book in particular has a real historical element to it as well. You get flashbacks to the previous time period and seeing what kind of happened that affects the events going on in this trilogy. Really enjoyed that first book. Really enjoyed this one as well. Like I said, I gave this 4 stars. At this point in this trilogy, okay, so this book is 587 pages long, and the first one was 560, so they're long, chunky books. This one, I do think, was slower. So the first book, I feel was a little bit slow in the beginning to get going, to really, I was invested quickly, but to really get into the actual meat of the plot, it takes a while. This one, you're following on from kind of the aftermath of the first book, so it gets off to a quick start. I think the middle chunk is a little bit slower. It kind of peaks and troughs in a way. There's parts where there's a lot of action going, not action, but there's a lot happening, and then parts where you're just kind of getting through stuff, but it doesn't super bother me because I'm so invested in these characters. This series just has really, really great characters. So yeah, like I say, I do think it could be slow in parts. I think maybe people who read this would have a problem with that. It didn't overly bother me. Like I say, I'm so invested in these characters. I'm so excited to see where we're going to head with book 3 and like how this trilogy is going to wrap up. I'm really interested to see where the author's going to take this story. So yeah, this is the book, the one and only book that I finished this week. So let's touch on what I'm currently reading. So we'll touch on the book first that I've been currently reading all month, and that is, of course, Middlemarch by George Eliot. So I am caught up on this now. I am, for the first time in speaking about this in a currently reading section of a recent reads, actually up to date with where I needed to be. So I have read the first 6 parts. There's 8 parts and then a little like epilogue, I think. What's it called? It's not an epilogue. A finale. But the finale is like 5 pages. So we're reading 2 parts a week. So this is like the 3rd week of February. So I needed to read the 5th and 6th. And I was still only kind of at part 3, but I read part 4 right on the last weekend. And then during this week, I have read parts 5 and 6. So I'm up to date. So I'm on page 547. So technically 3/4 of the way through this. This coming week, I will be finally reading part 7 and 8 and the finale and finding out how this story is all going to wrap up. I don't have too much differing thoughts to say on this than what I've already been saying. I think this follows a lot of kind of different storylines. They're all kind of intertwined, but they all are kind of their own stories in a way. Some of them I find much more interesting than others. The writing style I do find very dry and very wordy. Like there are parts, like I sent, I'm buddy reading this with Michelle. I don't know if I said that, from Michelle Lexi. And there are parts, I sent her a picture at one point and I was like, what is with this? I wish I could find like a section to show you, like this, for example, where there's just parts where it's like that. It's like walls and walls of text. And you'll get chapters sometimes that are like that, whereas, and it feels like those parts always often come up to in parts that you're already like not as engaged in, and the parts that I don't love as much, and then you'll just get walls of text. And because it is a classic, like it's older style language, it already takes me a little bit longer to read than like a contemporary fiction. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. It's okay. I'm not loving it, but I don't hate it or anything. Like, it's okay. I'm interested to see where, like I said, the storylines that I'm interested in, I'm looking forward to seeing how those wrap up. But I did read a big chunk of that this week as well. I am also currently reading, so I started the audiobook for The Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. This is the 2nd book in the Live Ship Traders trilogy. So this is part where we get into like why I didn't read more this week. So this book is 900 pages, the book. I was listening to it on audio, and I only got 42% of the way through. So even though I only read 42%, that's like, I think it's like 380 pages worth of that. So I did read like a chunk of that as well. And I had originally hoped, because now that audiobook has expired and I didn't get it finished, I was hoping originally to read that entire audiobook this week, for it to just be the one audiobook that I was going to focus on, and I was going to try listen to the whole thing this week. My work, where I work, was having some renovations done this week. And basically directly where I sit in my like cubicle at work, almost directly kind of like, well, not quite where this bookshelf is, but a little bit further like back than where this bookshelf would be, was the wall where our office like ended. And that wall has been knocked through to the area next door, which the directors of my company also own. So they've knocked through to like expand our area for our office. And the wall was knocked down over the weekend, so I wasn't there for that. But all of the renovations that are now happening to that area are literally happening like 10 feet from where I'm sitting. And there has been a lot of drilling through sheetrock, a lot of hammering, a lot of just like construction noises. And not just construction where it's like, oh, the next door neighbors, it's right there. There is nothing between me and the tradespeople. And like I said, there's a lot of drilling that's been happening. It has been incredibly noisy. It's been a really tense week because with all of that noise and you're sitting right there, it just kind of puts you on edge. So it has been very difficult to listen to audiobooks, because when they're actively drilling, it doesn't matter if I've got a headphone like directly in my ear, I cannot hear it. So I definitely was not getting through my audiobook the way, even though I haven't been getting through audiobooks the way that I have in previous times, even to the standard that I would normally get through audiobooks, like since I've started this job, I just have not been getting through it. So I only managed to listen to 42%. Now it's expired. Luckily, thankfully, I've been talking about this book a little bit with Michelle as well, because Michelle recently read The Mad Ship as well, and she has a Scribd account, and she is going to very kindly, and I'm so thankful, let me sign into her Scribd account and finish the audiobooks. I did put it back on hold from my library, but I don't know how long it's going to take for the hold to come back in for me to finish it, and I'm like halfway through and I really want to know where everything's going. So in terms of my thoughts on The Mad Ship so far, I'm really enjoying it. This is the second book in the trilogy, I think I said, and it's the second trilogy within the realm of the Elderlings overall. So in case you don't know, Rob and Hob has like, I think 5 different series that are all set in an overall realm, but they are all each kind of standalone trilogies. This is the second trilogy within that world. So I have previously read the Farseer trilogy, which I enjoyed, but I am enjoying the Live Ship Traders trilogy so much more. With the Farseer trilogy, we mainly focused on Fitz. He was like the main character of that series, and we only really we've got kind of little bits from outside of him, but for the main part, we were following him and his life and everything that and the way it affected him. And in the in the Live Ship Traders trilogy, we get a bazillion different perspectives, which sounds like, and some people might struggle, like maybe there's too many. I don't find that. I love that we're seeing all different pieces of this world. We're following lots of different characters, and I really enjoy that. And there's no real parts of that or perspectives that I'm not enjoying. I'm like loving all of it. And even the characters, like there's a character in particular, and I know Michelle knows who I'm talking about, who I can't stand, but that part of the book is still really interesting as well, because I'm so invested in hating that character, and like, I'm not hating's a strong word, but being so incredibly frustrated with that character. But part of the enjoyment of it is I'm really interested in that part of the story and where that's going to go and seeing how that's all going to play out. I'm very invested, really, really enjoying it. Michelle said that the ending to this book is crazy, so I'm really looking forward to finishing it. So my main focus, obviously, for audiobooks this coming week is to finish The Mad Ship. The construction, we were told it was only going to take a week, but I can tell you from when I left the office on Friday, it ain't done. It doesn't look close to being done. I mean, I'm not an expert, so I don't really know. And I do feel like with construction, sometimes it looks really incomplete, but once they hit a certain point, things go really quickly. So maybe it will be finished really quickly, but I'm hoping that it's mainly done, or at least the noisy work is mainly done, and that I can complete The Mad Ship this coming week. So I'm reading those two, but I am also reading, because I've got through my 2 parts of that, so I've kind of put this onto the back burner, have an audiobook ongoing, which I don't normally have, and then I've got the book that I've picked up kind of to break up Middlemarch, so I'm reading just on my Kindle. I'm finally reading Silent Child by Sarah A. Denzel. This is one that was on my TBR last month, in January, that I didn't get to, finally getting to it. This is a thriller. I'm about 24% of the way through, so not super far into it yet. I just started this yesterday. So it's a thriller. It's about a woman who got pregnant when she was quite young. I think just coming out of high school, so like 18 type of age range. And her child is now 6. And they live in quite a small town that is experiencing this torrential rain. And the river or whatever it is that's going through the town is basically about to burst its banks. And she's had a call from the school saying that they want people to come and collect their children. And she has no way to get there except to try to walk there, basically. So she walks to the school, manages to make it to the school, and has already decided in her mind that she's not going to be able to take her son back home with her because it's just going to be too dangerous. Like, the river is literally about to burst its banks. And she gets to the school for the school to inform her that her son is missing, and her son is known for being quite adventurous and curious, and it's assumed that he's gone to like see what's going on with the storm and all of that. And her son is basically not found. I think it's like a week later or something like that, that his jacket is found floating in the river. And so it is assumed that he left school and has been swept away in this river and has drowned, which is obviously hugely tragic. It is now 10 years later. Her and her partner that she had the baby with are like not together. She is married to a new man, is pregnant, like imminently pregnant, I think like 8 months pregnant with a new child when her son is found. He did not drown, he was not swept away, and he's been found, and the whole thing is about like, where has he been for the past 10 years? He is mute, and he returns, hence the title, Silent Child, and obviously the main part of the plot is going to be figuring out what's happened to him, where has he been for the past 10 years. Like I say, I'm only just kind of, that's the synopsis, and that's kind of the main part that we've gotten through so far. We got the beginning part with him being missing, and now, you know, 10 years later, her finally kind of having moved on from it, started a new life for him to then be discovered and dealing with all of that. So very interesting premise. I heard really good things about this when it initially came out a couple of years ago. So looking forward to that. My aim is to finish that this weekend. So my aim is for this week. If I don't have like, this is my worst. I think I've read 8 books in February, and we're like 3/4 of the way through the month. That is just, and I know like a lot of people like 8 books is amazing. For me, that is just, it's incredibly low numbers. So once I finish this, I want to read the final book in this trilogy, which is over 600 pages. So I'm just reading so many chunky books. I also obviously this week need to finish this. So even though I only finished 1 book this week, the book that I finished was almost 600 pages. I read, like, how much of this did I read? I read 3 parts of this week. Where's part 3? So I read like almost 300 pages of this, and then I read almost 400 pages of the audiobook as well. So I still read like over 1,000 pages this week. I just didn't equate into like finishing many books. But so this week I want to finish Silent Child, obviously. I want to finish this. I want to finish this trilogy at a minimum. And that's only 3 books, which would still be a low number for me in a week. But I recognize, like I say, that I've still got a chunk of this. I've still got almost 300 pages. Not 300. I've got 200 pages of this left to go. Like I said, the 3rd book in this trilogy is over 600 pages. I'm listening to the audio. Oh, and I want to finish the audiobooks. That's 4. I've got like 500 pages. Not 500. Yeah, about 500 pages of the audiobook still left to listen to. Finishing this. Will I get anything else read apart from that? I would love to. Will it happen? I don't think so. I think my wrap up for this month, where I've started using the like images or like what I got through from my TBR, is going to be hugely different to the way that my wrap ups would normally go in that regard. But it is what it is. Like, I'm still reading and still working my way through things. Like I say, it's just worked out that this month, one has been busy and like crazy things going on, and I'm not getting through as much as I normally would just generally. And then the things that I am reading are like hugely chunky books. So yeah, that's it. That's everything I read. The 1 book that I read this week. I would love to chat with you guys in the comments down below about how your reading week went or how your February is going. I hope for your sake that it has been a better reading month for you than it has for me so far. But yeah, that's it. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That is all I have for this video today. Bye guys.